Thank you very much. We are not going to waste a lot of your time. We're just going to speak to the key talking points of our presser. We are going to send out a detailed statement on our perspective, our perceptions on the 100 days so far. As far as we are concerned, the 100 days so far have been 100 days of disappointment, 100 days of misses, 100 days of underperformance, and 100 days of failure to deliver in terms of the expectation of the people. As you know, the end of the Mugabe regime was not an end of a man. It was an end, in our view. It was supposed to be an end of a system, an end of a system of corruption, an end of a system of marginalization, an end of a system of exclusivity in terms of how we govern, how we do our politics. But the first test of the failure of Mr. Mnangagwa in his 100 days was his inability and failure to be inclusive in making sure that there's a transitional mechanism to usher in a new dispensation for our country and for our people. So that was the first test of leadership, and that it was failed. The second one, you are aware that in terms of our government, there are mega boobs that have been made in terms of just failing to interpret the Constitution. For example, as the president came in, he could not understand that there's a distinction between the number of ministers who are permissible to be admitted as members of the cabinet, who are not in parliament. He had to correct that error. You are aware of the issue of the deployment of the vice president to be in charge of a ministry is constitutionally contestable at law. Those are some of the issues that have been made as mistakes by this government. But what is clear for us is that this new administration also failed to articulate the benchmarks of the first 100-day program. There was no plan. Other than the plans of action that were asked from the ministries, we did not see any plan upon which we can then go and say on a catalogue of issues, they've done 5 out of 10 or 10 out of 10, because they did not articulate the journey that they were going to travel. So right now it's being done nocturnally and nicodemously. We do not even know what they had promised in terms of delivery. So yes, we are where we are. There's been total disappointment in terms of the conduct of the administration. You see that in the economic field, particularly on the economic front, queues are still there. Cash shortages are still abundant. In fact, there's no cash to talk about. Economic reforms that have been indicated have not been run to their full course, particularly in the context of the opening Zimbabwe for business context. You find that our cross-border traders are still facing problems in terms of the threshold of the duty-free goods. Within the region, about $500 is the minimum threshold for our duty-free goods, but within our context, we only have about $200 that is permissible. So it's a hardship for our people, and it's also going to hamper entrepreneurial activities, particularly by our cross-border participants. You have also seen the human rights situation deteriorating. Look at what has happened. In the first 100 days, we have lost lives on account of police brutality. It is not something that is encouraging. It is not something that we would appreciate and welcome. The issue of Itai Dzamara has not been attended to. We're expecting that the new administration would at least launch an inquiry into what happened, consistent with the promises that were made by the previous regime, but also consistent with the court ruling that the government has to update the nation on what happened to Itai Dzamara. One life lost is a life far too important just to be ignored. We have not heard anything from President Mnangagwa. He has not addressed this issue. It remains an issue where we would say there has been failure. We have also seen that there has been an escalation of muzzling of the press, particularly the public media. We have not seen any other political parties being covered. That is against the spirit of the Electoral Act. Of course, they say after the proclamation and the issue of the nominations having been done, there has to be then that public monitoring process. But just to say that we have a new dispensation, we're supposed to then see a new approach in terms of the coverage. The only time an MDC leader is covered in the public media is when they are being accused of either murder or some other crime, or when they are accused or allegedly facing an arrest. That's when you then appear in the newspaper. So you cannot expect alternative politics, alternative politicians to be seen or to appear in terms of the public media, particularly ZBC. The issue of social services is all evident for you to see that clearly Mr. Mnangagwa is not fit for purpose. Mr. Mnangagwa is out of depth in terms of what must be delivered to the people of Zimbabwe at a technical level, but also at a leadership level. We understand that he has been part of this system for the past 37 years. And what we have seen, that we have seen 100 days of the past 37 years. We've seen 100 days of the past failure. We've seen the replication of the old system. And there's nothing new. There's nothing new in terms of the politics, the leadership, the approach, the governance, the delivery. Performance targets are not being pursued. The issue of corruption has not been dealt with. What we have seen is vindictiveness on the part of internal ZANU-PF politics, pursuing the so-called G40 people without necessarily dealing with certain culprits who are within government. And this is the challenge we are giving to Mr. Mnangagwa to say, yes, you have lost on your time. You are now out of time. Let us prepare for elections and let us have a new administration. An administration we are going to be leading and we are ready to lead. And then show them how a 100-day program is going to be arranged. The first thing we are going to do is to officially recognize them as an opposition and make sure that they are given official status as an opposition, and make sure that all our State of the Nation addresses are done after consultation with the head of the opposition. I hope it will be Mnangagwa, then or Chiwenga, or whoever is going to be leading it. I will invite them to State House to engage them on this serious program so that we are giving an alternative to the new dispensation that we are going to usher in. I've just given you a summary of the issues. We have said that nothing has been done. It's too little, too late for them to even talk about a new era. It's actually a new regime of mistakes as far as we are concerned. I want to thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I've given you a summary of our perspective as a party so that we can take questions. Over to you, Loco.
Thank you. Questions, I'm now opening the floor for questions. I'll be taking 3 questions at a time. Questions, interventions.
Thank you. When are we going to see full-scale campaigning by the MDC in the rural areas?
Well, thank you very much. The MDC is a national party. It's the only majority party in this country. ZANU-PF is a minority party. ZANU-PF is fractured into many fragments. One led by Robert Mugabe, the other one led by Kasukwere, the other one led by Idi Mnangagwa, then the other one led by Joyce Mujuru, then the other one led by Mr. Mtambara of the Zimbabwe People First. These are all ZANU-PF factions that have collapsed into different fragments. But the MDC is coming together. You have seen BT is back in the fold, Welshman is back in the fold, all the other pieces that had gone away are back in the fold. So we are the only national party that is going to deliver victory in this country. And we are there in the rural areas. When you talk to the chiefs, when you talk to the village heads, they are part of those people who believe in change. We are everywhere. We have already begun our campaigns. In fact, we have deployed our teams that are already doing a program at various levels. Which program is to sensitize people about our program of action. We have already launched our Chakachaya program, which is in the rural areas. And when we say Chakachaya, we are saying it's game on. 2018 is game on. People have received our message overwhelmingly. I can tell you that we are a ubiquitous party with a national presence everywhere in all the provinces. We've already begun our campaign, but we are going to have an official launch once the dates have been proclaimed, so that at least we know how to plan. At that stage, we are then going to launch our new Zimbabwe blueprint, which is our policy document, a fantastic document. I can tell you that our colleagues in ZANU-PF, they've been copying our policies, and they've been stealing some of our ideas, and I'm glad Mr. Mnangagwa confirmed that. But you see, we don't hate good students. If they are willing to learn from us, we appreciate. It's all good for the country. So yes, the campaigns have begun, and we are rolling, but these are campaigns at a grassroots level, because we are running an organic national campaign in all the provinces.
Another question? Yes, Chamisa.
You made reference to the standing committee meeting that we just held. Can you kindly share with us what of the issues, maybe in the context of the challenge that the party has been going through? Of late, we've heard that Dr. Kupe has appealed to the Guardian Council. The question is, what extent have you tried to narrow differences?
The differences are in the Herald. And that's where you celebrate those differences. Within the party, yes, we are a big organization. And there are processes that have to be undertaken internally. I'm glad to say that the standing committee met this morning. We had to briefly adjourn just to attend to the pastors, but we are continuing that meeting. We hope to communicate the position of the party authoritatively and definitively tomorrow after the meeting of the National Executive and the National Council. These are the supreme decision-making bodies within the party. So the executive in the morning, and at a later stage, we are going to have the National Council to deal with the issues of leadership. We want to move away from an internal focus to an external focus. We don't want to internally focus on ourselves. You know that the misfortune of the departure of our giant, the icon, the founding father of democracy in Zimbabwe, Dr. Richard Morgan Tsvangirai, is not an easy element. So we are in a transition as a party, and that transition is very smooth. It would have turbulences because we are flying, but doesn't mean that the plane is crashing. So there are no differences that I would say are catastrophic. We are reaching out, we are working out a program to make sure that there's rapport in the cockpit, there's understanding in the cockpit, and that will be communicated at the appropriate stage, but not for today because we are still to continue with the work. So there's no problem. You were talking about the issue of differences and you know, unhappiness in the party. We are very happy that people are receiving us very well. We thought that the exit of our giant was going to affect us negatively. But it would appear that the giant left us a great party and has even left a greater message. People are so ecstatic. You know, the elderly and the young. They are saying it's game on for the change that they've been waiting for. And this year is the year for your liberation, including those at the Herald. You will enjoy this new dispensation, I can assure you. Not just other people, but you at the Herald. You'll be the first ones to say, yes, that's my guy.
Turbulence, yes, but the plane is not crashing. Another question? Yes, Obey.
Yes, you made reference to Comrade Biti and Comrade Walsh coming back to the party. Are they coming as alliance partners or they are rejoining the MDCT?
Well, there's no distinction between the MDCT and the MDC alliance. Because the MDCT is the party, but the MDCT is the driver. It is the core and the nucleus of the MDC alliance. So we are one family in the broad terms, consistent and pursuant to the Congress resolution that we are going to be converging all the forces, particularly our STYO colleagues. So yes, they are on their way to come to the big tent and the big party, which you know is the MDC alliance. So we are going to campaign under the banner of the MDC alliance, and we are going to participate in elections under that banner.
Big canvas tent. Another question? Yes?
Okay, I wanted to find out what is MDC's view towards the new ZEC chairperson, and also your comments towards the president's call that government is open for observers from the West.
Well, two things. Thank you very much. The first one is the ZEC chairperson. We are yet to see the work of the ZEC chairperson. The proof of the pudding is in the eating, isn't it? We have not started eating the pudding. So we are waiting to see how the ZEC chairperson is going to handle the office. It's a very important office. We do not expect bias. We do not expect favoritism. We do not expect lack of independence and lack of professionalism. I'm glad to say that our Secretary General and the Secretary for Elections have already engaged the ZEC, and they've articulated our concerns around ZEC, particularly the ZEC Secretariat. We need a proper audit of the ZEC Secretariat and to make sure that we chlorinate the ZEC Secretariat Some of the people who are there are spooks who are of dubious credentials. And we know that they've been working with this government to undermine a free and fair election. So these are issues that we are going to be pushing, and we've already raised those issues through our representatives at ZEC. The second issue to do with the open for, inviting visitors does not mean that you don't carry snacks within your house. We still have a lot of skeletons in the cupboard. Which are the skeletons? Number one, we need an audit of the voters' roll. The BVR roll has to be audited to make sure that we do not have people who were preloaded or post-loaded or dead people. Was there no group loading of names? So the audit has to be undertaken by the party. But more importantly, the issue of servers is still to be dealt with. We need to be sure of the system. It's just 4 months away from the election. Mr. Mnangagwa is not given a roadmap. In other jurisdictions within SADC, we are given 18 months in advance of how elections are going to be done. But in this country, we don't even know when. We just know constitutional that is supposed to be 22 July to 20 August. But we don't know how all the other things are going to be done in terms of proclamation, nomination, assessing the voters' roll. That is an issue we are insisting on. And we've already engaged Mr. Mnangagwa and ZEC to say we are still lagging behind. That has to be sorted out so that there's transparency. Yes, we wage the guerrilla warfare in this country, but there's no need for us to continue the guerrilla antics against each other, particularly in the context of an election. And this is our message to Mr. Mnangagwa. Let us be transparent. Stop paying lip service to a free and fair election, but you are walking an opaque election. We know we are investigating a lot of funds that have been given to paid stock, and we have instructed our intelligence and security department to deal with that. We have also set up an anti-rigging team that is working 24/7 to make sure that we sniff out all skullduggery and tomfoolery on the party of ZANU-PF. We will stop them. We will not allow them. And we will not go to an election until we have agreed on who is going to print the ballot papers, who is going to be in charge of the polling material. Gone are the days when we would allow them to do things Nicodemously. We want that to be done, and we must do forensic audits and testing of those ballot papers before we vote. And we will not allow them to go alone, because it takes two to tango. If they wish to tango alone, we will stop them, because tango is not for one, but for two. So yes, that's our position. We are mobilizing other oppositional forces to also support us in that regard. The issue of access to the public media, I've already said, is an issue we are pushing. The issue of making sure that our military is liberated from partisan politics, petty politics of partisanship, so that they are confined to the national duty of our security and our defense. We focus our military on those grand issues and not to focus on assisting one unpopular party to regain power or to revive itself or to try and get a backdoor entry into office. We will not allow that. And this time, no further. There is not going to be a 2013. We will not allow them to cheat us. We will not allow them to deceive us. That is what the leaders have already done, and we have deployed our mechanisms to make sure that will not be done, because we don't have time. I hope you answered.
Spooks of dubious credentials with ZEC. I can assure you, Mr. President, I'm seeing some of them masquerading as journalists. Those spooks.
I'm sure we'll take the two last ones. Yes. Thank you.
Mr. Chamisa, you say differences are in the air, so you say.
Sure.
Why is Mrs. Cooper not here? Did she attend today's meeting of the Standing Committee? And we should be part of tomorrow's National Council meeting. And then the other issue, given the internal ructions within the MDC as a party, who is negotiating with the likes of Cooper? We understand that when Mr. Changirai passed on, he was in the process of engaging Mrs. Mujuru.
Are you asking about Ms. Mujuru or Ms. Cooper?
There are two questions. I asked the first
and you want
one,
me to speak on behalf of both of them?
Yeah, I asked you two questions.
Okay.
The first one being, where is Mrs. Cooper in all this?
Oh, okay.
And the second one is that given the ructions within the MDC, which faction, or so to speak, is engaging Mrs. Mujuru in coalition?
Okay, so those are two questions. Yes. Thank you very much. The first one on Dr. Cooper. Dr. Cooper is a leader of this party. we are engaging her. There are processes we have deployed to make sure that we find each other. You may not see her now, but you must know that she's with us. And there's a process that I have instructed, and leadership requested me to kickstart that one so that we find each other. We are not going to go public about our internal process. You know, transparency is not nakedness. You are asking us to be naked. We don't want to be naked. We are going to be transparent. And I think to the extent that we are transparent, we have told you that there are internal processes we are currently engaging in to make sure that we reach out to Madam Kupe, not to deal with differences, but also to deal with legacy issues. Mind you, there was an issue way before. It's not a Kupe Chamisa issue. It's not a Mzuri Kupe issue. There has been an issue between Dr. Kupe and the party around the issue of the alliance. It was there way back. And this is what we are trying to deal with, because that is the genesis of the issue. So we are curing that. It's not a difference, but it's just some kind of enlightenment that we are having in terms of our internal democratic processes. And you'll be assured that, yes, you will see her at the appropriate time. And she will make pronouncements on her own, on where she stands, because this is a big party. We are all there on a voluntary basis. So nobody's going to be forced to be part of the party. But it's a great democratic family. And this is why we thank Dr. Richard Morgan Tsvangira. He left us with a great party, a party that you are proud of. And I know that, you know. I know you are not part of it, but you are proud of it. You know, the majority party, the party of excellence. So yes, in terms of Dr. Kupe, I think I've answered you. In terms of Mai Mjuru, our view is that we must have a grand, coalition of Democrats. We must have a grand strategy around making a broad alliance possible. So yes, we are reaching out. In fact, we have had discussions. We are extending our hand to Dr. Mjuru to come in. But of course, there are issues to be resolved. Mind you, we have a memorandum of understanding with Dr. Mjuru. It has not collapsed. It was just held in abeyance because of certain issues that were packed. We hope to unlock those issues and have one killer punch to dictatorship. This is no longer about ZANU and MDC. It's about the national blow to dictatorship, including those in ZANU-PF who are willing to join the democratic train. The seats are plenty, and we are prepared to even carry them on the carrier, because we want every Zimbabwean to be part of this journey to a new Zimbabwe. So yes, we are opening our lines of communication and extending our hand of engagement with Dr. Mjuru.
But you have not answered me as to whether Ms. Kupe attended to the standing committee meeting.
Well, look, like I told you, I said I cannot go naked about certain things. You can always ascertain through your own ways. But in terms of who has attended the meetings, we are going to take it as an internal record. In terms of what we communicate to the public, yes, we'll give you a public position tomorrow after our meetings. But what we are going to say is to say, so-and-so has attended, so-and-so. Parties don't run on the basis of attendance or non-attendance. Parties run on the basis of resolutions by the party according to the Constitution. And I want to also disabuse a lot of people who have said MDC is unconstitutional. We are constitutional to the letter and spirit. Everything is being done according to the book. The acting president is an advocate with the superior courts in Zimbabwe, and would not want to do things that are below the law or above the law or besides the law. We will do everything through the law. And that must be understood. We are using the provisions we have to make sure that the National Council deals with the issue of the leadership within the party. So yes, I'm sure if you really press on seeing Dr. Kupe, you will see her very soon. We will make an arrangement for you to see her. That's very important. I see your affinity. We can deal with that. Yes.
No duties, no transparency. Any other question? Any other pending question?
I'm sure Lucy, Lucy is going to give the last one.
Okay. My question is still on Mrs. Mjuru.
Oh, yes.
You just answered the part that I wanted to ask, but
okay.
I still have to understand if you made reference to issues that need to be addressed regarding the memorandum of understanding.
Yes.
Are you at liberty to share with us those issues?
In fact, that's part of what the team that is going to engage Dr. Mjuru is going to discuss, because it has to be done in the context of the Congress resolution on building a broad tent and also the convergence platform for all the parties. We can't afford to ignore Dr. Mujuru, if she's willing to be part of the broad movement. I mean, the momentum is big. You know, you should have been with us at the Pastors Forum. You know, not a symbol. This was just Harare, you know, it was overflow, you know, because people believe. Not just young people, you know, but the elderly, traditional leaders, our war veterans, our colleagues in ZANU-PF, who are beginning to see the light. As you know, the others who are beginning to see the light, and we're saying, let's all be part of this great movement to a new Zimbabwe, because it's good for all of us. So yes, we'll give the details at the appropriate time in terms of the issues around candidature, around the nuts and bolts of it, but we'll announce at the appropriate time. Guys, we want to thank you very much. You know, it's not easy that you have had to wait. Thank you very much. Your patience is appreciated. We reciprocate, and we will reciprocate in good gesture. Thank you very much.